Arian, and I'm a product owner, former software engineer, and startup founder. And I pretty much talk about all those things tech career related here on this channel. And it has been a while since I uploaded, so I'm excited to actually get back in the swing of things. You'll notice that I'm going live now because editing was really what took me the most amount of time on all my previous videos and really what stopped me from being able to really just be consistent on YouTube. And so now y'all might be with me in the car or wherever I am, but my goal is to go with unedited live streams and try to provide as much value as I can and just I might go on some tangents and stuff like that. But hopefully there's some value in there for y'all and just upload every single day basically. So that's the goal here. I plan to catch you up on a lot more of what's going on in future lives and videos. But right now, I just want to talk about no code specifically and how powerful no code really is compared to the startup landscape in 2015 when I was starting out trying to build my very first MVP ever of an application and ended up using Ruby or going with Ruby as a language to make some of that faster because at the time, and even still today, like Ruby is, I was gonna say was, but it is known as like a startup language that basically does a lot of scaffolding for you. So if you're looking to build something, quickly that's also scalable, Ruby has always been a very like readable language, very beginner friendly language. And a lot of people used it to try to get their MVPs, their prototypes built as fast as possible and get something out there that worked that they could test. But so this is the issue that I ran into is that even though you have languages like Ruby that again are beginner friendly and all these different things and does a lot of the heavy lifting for you, back in my first startup experience, that was, pretty much the equivalent of today no code. But you still needed to pretty much be a developer. You still had to know how to code, how to debug a lot of things. One of the big issues with Ruby for me as an early founder was that, and a lot of people probably tell you this as well too, before you really are good at coding or if you ever learn how to code, is that Ruby does a lot of magic for you behind the scenes. And so there's a lot of code injected into your code base in your app that kind of bloats a lot of things like your repos, and it can affect a lot of different things that have a very negative impact on your app overall, your app experience, security, all types of things if you don't know what you're doing. And so, not only that, but you still have to, like I said, build an entire application. When I say build it, I mean build it, troubleshoot. You need to know how to deploy things and all of that. And if you're an early stage founder with no team, or you're a solo founder, or you're a non-technical founder and you don't have that background, like even a language like Ruby still is not the most useful or beneficial way for somebody, in 2024 trying to get started with building an MVP or testing out an idea that they have, or something along those lines. It's not even the most feasible way to do anything still to this day if you're a non-technical founder. So in the last few months, I've been playing around a lot more with no code tools. Like I was familiar with them, I use them a lot, like things like Zapier and make.com for different automations with APIs and things like that, workflows, automated workflows. And I love those tools, I still use them today. But I hadn't really gotten super familiar with all the different no code tools that were out there. So I had played around with Adalo in a hackathon, I think maybe 2 years ago, and I built like a small app. Like I said, it was like a 24-hour hackathon or something like that. And it was cool because Adalo focuses on basically no code mobile apps and giving you the ability to kind of like drag and drop a UI and still add functionality into it. So you can still have, a real database. You can still make API calls and do all those things, which really give you a real app experience without having to write a single line of code. And so I did think that that was pretty cool when I first saw Adalo. But again, limited in many ways because it's only focused on mobile. And so this year, as I've gotten more into like Bubble and Flutterflow and really played around more in Flutterflow, I am really seeing the power of no code tools, and it has like blown my mind how far we've come just since 2015, 2016 in terms of not only just technology, but the the barrier of entry for getting started with your SaaS idea or whatever business idea that you really have, honestly, you don't need to be a technical, founder necessarily anymore, or even have a team really, which is, I think, the most challenging part for a lot of early stage founders, especially who are going after their first SaaS, company or digital business app, based business software. A lot of times, if they don't have a very, very strong technical co-founder, it is super hard to build out whatever idea that they have, even just to test it, let alone to actually take it out to market, get paying customers for it, let alone investors and everything else that a lot of people are like striding towards. And so no code is powerful because it pretty much like levels the playing field. Now, I'm not saying that it's not useful to know how to code. In fact, I think that no code tools are almost a little bit useless if you don't have any technical slash coding experience or even like background, because you still need to understand things like the data grid. You still need to understand like databases, database connections, data modeling. All of those things are still relevant. And it helps to have some UI background a little bit, like just to know how things really work on the front end. um, but without those sort of like fundamentals, I would say that no code is still great, but it'll still be a huge challenge if you're expecting to go into it, just drag and drop like maybe a WordPress or something like that. Because while it is that simple, there's still technical knowledge that's needed to really wire everything together and make it work smoothly. So you're still going to have bugs, you're still going to be troubleshooting, there's still going to be things that happen that you probably don't expect, in your app. And you probably are going to have to take time to really figure that out and read documentation, and all of that still applies very much like developing an app, like I was saying before in Ruby. But the difference is that, I mean, what used to take months, 3 to 6 plus months, could now be done in a matter of weeks, days, just depending on your technical proficiency, which is why I'm saying that it's still helpful if you actually have a background in coding or in tech or in, some sort of application development. Will be helpful. But it really is just based on you and your ability to sort of learn these concepts and get up to speed, and really go in there and just take the time to really figure it out, watching videos, reading documentation, and just building. Because a lot of the very difficult functionality but common functionality that a lot of people expect in a modern SaaS app today come in these tools like Adalo, Bubble, Flutterflow out of the box. You know, things like sending emails and date pickers and, notifications and alerts and maps and, drag and drop ability, like all these things that would take tons and tons of time to implement, file uploads and storage, like all these things would take a very long time, especially if you're not almost like a mid to senior level developer. Especially to do these things on your own with no guidance would be very difficult. And then to pay somebody to do this who could do it would be not only expensive but also very time consuming. And so these no code tools are like literally blowing my mind, because not only do they do so much of the heavy lifting in the sense of like the back end and front end, but they're also very extensible. So it's very easy to expand on, what you already are given in the no code tool, but still take it another step further, where you can connect to different applications. Like I said earlier, you can still connect with Zapier and Make.com, if this then that, webhooks, other APIs that are external. You still can add so much additional functionality that isn't given to you necessarily right out of the box, um, with these platforms. And so it really, I'm not going to say, everything has its pros and cons, and nothing is like a perfect solution. So while no code definitely has, drawbacks in certain ways or whatever, um, I personally think that when you weigh the pros and cons of being a non-technical founder typically, or early stage founder, or even a solo founder, and needing to really build quickly to validate an idea, there is like no better way right now than no code tools. And I just wanted to kind of come on here and just share that as, part of me getting back into, like I said, hopping back on YouTube and trying to share valuable content with you guys. Um, I want to share all the things that I'm learning, that I have learned, and also like what I'm doing and what I'm working on. So in future videos here soon, I'll be sharing more about what I'm working on exactly outside of work, and then also just more about my work and career journey as well too. So I hope y'all found this helpful. If you did, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know if you've tried no code or if you've used them before. What are your favorite tools and how do you like using them? And also make sure you check out the description box down below as well, and check out all my resources that are in there as well. So again, it's Darian, and I'll catch y'all next video, y'all.